Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be having a look at the news released today for the Leviathan Tournament Companion. I've really been looking forward to this article, and in this video we're going to go through all the details that you can find in this tournament pack, so you can download it on the Warhammer community site now. And really cool that this is out now, as I'll be going through it in great detail next week, ready for my Warhammer 40,000 tournament, which is on the 20th of August. Tickets are available, and I'll be updating the pack really soon. Now we've got all the rules for the terrain and everything, so this is fantastic. So let's get started. We'll dive in straight away and work our way through the document. There's a few key areas we're going to cover. We'll look at the mission sequence. We'll look at the card updates. There's going to be some differences there ready for the tournaments. We'll also look at the tournament mission pool, terrain layouts, which is really nicely done actually. I was really impressed with how they've done that. And then also look at how they're doing the pairings, because that's quite a big change. Right, let's start with the tournament mission sequence. So the idea here is you're going to use the mission sequence presented in the Leviathan mission pack, but there's a few steps you need to replace. So steps 2, 4 and 5 are going to be swapped with the ones you can see here on the screen now. Step 2 is definitely expected, where we determine the mission. So instead of drawing from the deployment mission rule and primary mission decks, we're now going to use the pre-generated missions. Going to a tournament, you'll be expecting to see which missions you'll be playing in the tournament. In the one for my tournament, it'd be like 3 missions, and so they'll be chosen in advance so people can make preparations and get some practice in on those missions before they arrive. Step 4 is an odd one. This is a strange choice. I want to know what you think about this actually. It'd be good to hear your thoughts. But in tournament missions, models can end any type of movement on top of an objective marker. But in regular play, you can't do that. So that's strange they put that in there. I guess it kind of makes sense. But maybe the rule for not putting a model on any type of objective marker shouldn't exist anyway. Unless you're trying to encourage the use of 3D markers in like narrative play and more flat markers if you're using tournament rules. I suppose that would make sense in that respect, but it seems like an odd thing to have 2 separate rules for. Then there's step 5, where you create the battlefield, and in this pack there's going to be some details about terrain layouts, which we'll cover later on. There's some updates to 3 of the Leviathan cards as well. So when you're using the mission pack, you use these updated cards. So there's some changes there for the primary mission, deploy server skulls, secondary mission for the deploy teleport Homer, and another secondary mission behind enemy lines. So they've updated some text in there in red. Just some small changes there. Then here's the Leviathan Tournament mission pools. It's going to give you 15 tournament missions to choose from, and these are designed to act as a pool from which organisers can build their events, and we select from it in a random order, or we could even choose them. They've done the primary missions, and they recommend that you choose for a 3-round tournament. You choose 3 different ones. They recommend maybe A, B and C, or D, F and G. And then if you've got longer events where there's more rounds, more games being played, you might want to choose some of the other more straightforward missions, which there's plenty of those in there. So they've included more of the straightforward primary missions there. If you look in the next column along, you can see the mission rules, and you might notice that Chilling Rain pops up quite a lot. And that's going to have no effect during the battle, so that's going to keep things focused on the primary mission, and so you're not having to worry about that too much. But there's some others in there that do have some effects, but lots of Chilling Rain, so if you wanted to keep it super simple, you could select the primary missions that come with the mission rule Chilling Rain for all 3 if you wanted to. But I think it'd be fun to mix it up a little bit. In the next column, you've got the deployment, so that matches the different primary mission. And also in the final column, you've got the terrain layouts, which we'll have a look at real soon. And then you can see all the different layouts that should match the deployment. So that's going to be interesting to have a close look at that and imagining where the terrain can go. And here you can see there's a whole page on the terrain layouts, and then we'll see some examples in a moment. But there's a few things they're pointing out. The first one is that there are no fixed measurements, and they don't recommend that you use fixed measurements. I really like that, because if any little piece of terrain is nudged at all and it's off by a little bit, that could have some effects later on in the game, especially when you're setting up. It's really easy to just move some little terrain pieces around, especially if they're light. And also, as you're setting up and getting ready to play, measuring the terrain, making sure it's all in the right place is just another step to go through that you don't have to now in this new edition. So that's really cool. But one thing they do stress is that there should be at least a 4-inch gap between the edges of each terrain feature. And that's going to allow the bigger models with the bigger bases, like the Knights, to be able to get through and negotiate the terrain. Then there's objective markers. Now these can be hidden within terrain now or placed out in the open, but they can't intersect a wall or any similar terrain element like that, and that makes sense. Then there's the use of ruins. You're going to see some nice terrain layouts and diagrams in a moment, which really give a lot of information about the terrain, which I think is brilliant how they've done that, and this is going to be a really important part of it. And the way they put it together is to give a good amount of line of sight blockage and lots of cover as well. So this is really nice. So let's get having a look at the terrain key, and then we'll have a look at the terrain layouts. Here you go then. So you've got the area terrain, and then you've got the suggested ruin walls. And it says here, for mobility purposes, wall sections shown as thin lines should be largely under 2 inches in height and never more than 4 inches in height, while wall sections shown as solid rectangles should always be more than 4 inches in height. So you can see when we look at these diagrams, there's going to be lots of areas that are going to be given that cover and blocking that line of sight. Here's the first one, and it's great to see a good number of terrain pieces. I mean, we've got 10 on here, and they look quite big. Having the area of terrain's really nice, because that means we can make a board and then build the terrain pieces, the ruins on top of that. And it's going to be very clear the actual size of the terrain when measuring to and from it, and that's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to playing around with this over the next week. Once I've done the Age of Sigmar tournament on Sunday, I'm going all in on this in 40k new edition and really focusing on the terrain and start building that ready for our next tournament on the 20th of August. And so I'll be cutting out some cardboard bases for that area terrain and making some mock-ups, and that should give a real good feel for how this is going to play and how we can make it work across all the tables. But here's another really good one. There's a lot of terrain on here. We're looking at, 12 pieces? So that's really nice. So you can really go heavy on terrain, which I like. That really gives that immersive feel when you play in the game, and I love terrain. I think it's great fun. I'm certainly not alone there. I guess most of us like the terrain. It's a huge feature of the game. But here we can see terrain layout 3. Again, they've gone for a nice amount, 12 pieces all together. And it's coming away from the L-shape blocks, so that's really nice. You could put things together in lots of different ways here. You could have your large area terrain boards, and then you could build L shapes out of it. There's flexibility to do that, but I like how they've done it here when they're offsetting it, and that's going to give you more little corridors to move through as well. I think, like for example, the one right in the middle there at the top, instead of it being an L shape, they're like offset, and so that's going to give a bit more space on the table each side. So certainly for bigger models and for your vehicles, you're going to get some opportunities to tuck in behind that and hide them a little. So really nice. And here's layout number 4, and I take back what I said about L pieces. There's 2 right in the middle, but you can see there how they've done that. We're keeping them 4 inches away. Looks quite close that though, but I imagine, yeah, that should be 4 inches. If you scale it up to the huge 60 by 44 inch mat, then it should work out nicely. So you've got that option. You can have them offset or L shapes, and then just the single pieces as well. So yeah, I really like how they put these together. This is going to be super helpful. I can't wait to update the pack for the 40k tournament over the next week or 2. Now let's have a look at pairings and rankings, and they've done some interesting things here. Let's look at pairing players first, and it says while the first round of most tournaments is randomly paired, the subsequent round pairing can be done in a number of ways, and so they've given some examples here. They recommend that pairing players are done by the following criteria. First, by record, for example, the number of wins, losses and draws. And then second, by win path. This is the timing of the rounds in which a player won or lost their games. And then third, it's going to be randomly within players of the same rank. That's going to be pretty simple to do on a spreadsheet and organise. There's no problem there for the pairings. We'll definitely be spending some time reading through all this. Here's a bit more information about the win path and why they're doing it this way, and it's just all based on kind of almost people's feelings throughout the event and how they're affected by how many games they've won in a row. For example, if they've lost the first game but won the next 3 games, they're going to feel different to someone who won the first 3 and lost the 4th. So that was the example they used in the video that they put up that accompanied the article today. So yeah, I think a bit more reading and playing around with that is going to be needed. Now let's look at how players are going to be ranked, and it says here that in many tournaments the overall best general will be the single remaining undefeated player at the end of the event. Sometimes though there's not enough rounds available to determine a single undefeated player. So here's how they recommend that you do it if say it's a tie. So first, you're going to be looking at overall record, so wins, losses and draws. Then second, going to be looking at their opponents' win records. So those with more wins against opponents with better win records would place higher. And then third, by total victory points. Again, we're going to have a real good read through this, good talk about everything and the options. But it's interesting to see the changes they've made here. The final page in this new pack is an afterword, and it says, what is the point of a Warhammer tournament? At first, I kind of read it as like, what is the point of a Warhammer tournament? But it's not meant like that. This is just like a little fluff piece, I suppose, at the end. I think we all know what the point is. It's great fun. Getting together and playing games with people who love the game as much as you do is awesome. What a great way to spend the day. And so, yeah, but nice they've added it at the end, I suppose. But, yeah, I don't think we need to be told what the point of it is. Surely we know that. There we go then, that's everything from the Leviathan Tournament Companion. Been really looking forward to this, really glad it's out. Love to hear your thoughts, let me know in the comments section down below what you think about this. But also in the article, there's some updates, another download where you can see updates to the index cards. Already they're out of date. It didn't take long at all, did it, for those changes to come in. So if you bought the cards, unfortunately, there's quite a lot of them that will need some amending. So have a look at that if you're interested. But that's it for me now on the tournament pack. A massive thank you to my sponsors for helping me to keep making videos like this and also supporting me with the tournaments as well. It's really cool to be running events now. I'm really excited to share those with you this weekend and in the weeks to come. Thanks so much for watching the video. Hope you liked it. Hope it gave you a little overview of this new pack now, and looking forward to hearing what you think. But thanks again. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe for more videos like this one, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters for helping me to keep going with these regular videos. I couldn't do this without you, and I appreciate your support so much. If you'd like to join the Patreon community, support the channel, get some great perks at the same time, there's a link down below in the description. It'll be awesome to see you there.